I think like one of my big struggles in life is like, oh, time is moving. I'm not like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, this is a tangent. Like I don't know if it's because of the freaking daylight savings time or whatever. Like for the past few weeks, like the days have been gone. Like, and I'm
yeah.
like, this is weird. Like, it's like, am I getting older or something like that? Is this why this switch happened? Like, do you like? Is that something you've always related to, or like, what's
Yeah,
like?
that's the single thing that's bothered me the most since I was like 6 or 7. Like
Wow.
dealing with time, dealing with the fact that time is going to pass, not taking advantage of, like not being in the moment, or not, you know what I mean? Just like not being comfortable with the fact that like time moves on. I think that's like single major struggle in my life. Um,
Okay. I mean, how
yeah.
have you been dealing with that?
Uh, I don't know. I think that one of my litmus tests of like uh, whether I'm doing well in life or this past year was good or not is did it feel like a long time? Like did I feel like it made you good use of the time? So that's one thing. Um, in I don't know. I still haven't made sense of it. I think that's like one of the things that I find tough to kind of like wrap my head around.
Yeah.
But a lot, I'll think in terms of like time constantly. Like I think that's like a very like key lens through which I look at things. Um,
Mhm.
what does that mean? That means just that like I'll think of like myself as discrete different people from like, oh, that was like me a year ago, this is me. And like I'll have like conversations in my mind with the older me versus the the me in the future. um
Mhm.
and so that's kind of like
Wait, can
related
you
to time,
talk a
right?
little bit more about that? Because like about you having this, I think you said conversation, like with you in the future. Like, what is that like?
It's just it's kind of a little bit of like a it's also like processing identity in a way, right? Identity,
Okay.
and then it applied across time. um like asking is because I think one of the things that like so one like I like to think also in terms of like thought experiments to see like
Okay.
thought experiments that are kind of related to truth. So like one thing I was thinking about like is um to what degree do you have continuity when you wake up in the new day, right? So part of you that's a new person, right? Because it's
Right.
just like
Yeah.
um and then you can also kind of look at it in the way like what if you looked at it in a way that like sure your memories and your physical form is still you, but you're being breathed in with new life, and like how would you appreciate it, and like how would you um yeah, or like I guess like how what would you let me tell you about a related like when I was first getting typed with OP, like one of the things that I thought about is like, okay, what if you from now on they decided there's not enough bodies and like too many souls, so from now on every year you're gonna switch off, uh, someone else is gonna take over your body, right, for a year, and then you'll wake up the next year. Um, and if that's the case, how do you justify all of the memories that you've had and what you're like, and and the relationships that are important to you, the things that are important to you, and convince this other person who's going to take over your life every other year that they should stay on the same path as you because this is what's important, this is what's good. Um, and then in the process of that, it's like you also have to like at some point you have to kind of bring up like these petty memories or like these petty concerns you have and try to what I mean, and consider
Like,
like, oh, do
convince
I try
them
to
to
convince this
continue
person?
with that.
Yeah,
That's, I mean, but like, I guess so. This is an interesting thought experiment because my mind literally was like, well, you can't. And end of story. I was like, okay, you just have to take the L of someone else. You're like, it's like you blacked out for a year.
yeah. But this happens all the time, right? Like you make a plan and then a different version of you like fucks it
Yeah.
up, right? Or like
Yeah.
or goes along with it, and you're grateful for that, right? Like when I remember waking up one day after like kind of working hard to get in shape, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in shape now, and I can like who did that for me? It was like the person that I was that took the sacrifices, that took the like went on a diet or like whatever worked out. He didn't see the result of that, right? And this is kind of like analogous
Right.
to like your parents or your ancestors versus like your children, right? Because like your children will kind of see
Mhm.
the fruits of
The fruits of the right.
your labor, and and so anyway, this is kind of like all kind of like the same theme of kind of like looking like how you're related to who you
right.
were, and and how, and again asking yourself like, to what degree do my past dreams and my past desires have what do I owe to that person, right? He's like, I wanted this yesterday, or I wanted this last year, or I wanted this when I was a kid. Like, how much do I owe to that person to continue their
Mhm.
dreams, and then what do I owe to the future, and then also like I'm also living this day today. What do I owe to myself for today?
Right.
Um,
So then
but
I guess my question is, so building on that, going back to the initial kind of thought of, hey, I have conversations with my future self, does it feel like that thought experiment where you feel like that future you is going to possess your body or something like that?
um, it, it does. Like, so I think that, well, I think that it's a little bit easier to look back, right? So I do look back, and I think that I think that I probably hold like so I think that every 2 years my life kind of changes like significantly, and it feels like it's like a new administration kind of taking over, right? And
Mhm.
there'll be like 2 year periods that uh, that did really well, you know, given the circumstances, and there would be ones that kind of like screwed things up, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that uh, I do. I don't want to say it's like like distinct different people, but I do think that like if you kind of if I hold resentments to how things went badly during a period of my time, I do have to kind of like resolve that with myself. You know what I mean? This is like either like, hey, you know, you kind of screwed up, or like,
Right.
or and that's okay, or whatever it is, right? You have to kind of like come to terms with that, as it's almost as if it's like a different person.
Mhm. That's interesting. My mind is still blank. Like I guess so insecure when it comes to this type of stuff because I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds so smart. I can't engage like because my mind is just dark right now because it's like I can't even like I can't my imagination can't even like create the scenario for me to do that for whatever reason. Like
Yeah,
um so it's hard. I mean it sounds useful. I don't know if I can contribute at all, but
yeah.
I do.
It's just self indulgent in a way too, right? But it's just like
Mm,
it's like I'm also trying to like like resolve certain issues, or actually um just that it's also just just to get a sense of like it's just looking things at a different perspective, right? It's just like
mm,
like what like why can you not stick to a plan, right? That's a question you have to ask yourself, um, if you're having that issue, um,
yeah.
and usually it's usually because you're not that much on board. I forgot where I got this, but like there's theory of that there's like there's different sides to you, and and usually you can complete a task if the side of you that you convinced is the one that's available when that task comes up, and usually you'll
Right.
screw up when it's just like you've convinced like these few people of you, or these few sides of you, but like these guys are not convincing. Those are the ones that are
Right.
doing the work.
Yeah.
Like Ray Dalio, so he has a book called The Principles. One of the main
Mhm.
things that I got from that, well, one is actually it got me into OP because he has this one principle that's like understand people are wired very differently. But
Mhm.
another one that he had is that you have to split yourself up from like the manager you and the employee you, right? So any task
Right.
that you have, you're planning things, but then you're also executing on them. And you as a manager needs to see where you as an employee are, you know, shit and like are not good or always screws up or like not convinced to do this, you know.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, you have to reconcile that.
That's super interesting. Now, the reason I'm like nodding really furiously right now is because I didn't contextualize this in time, but I've had this conversation with and or at least this a similar realization. I leveraged like Nietzsche's work a lot because in Beyond Good and Evil, he has this one analogy that's really cool of he describes the soul as a commonwealth, right? Or like a kingdom or like a city state, right? And the implication of that is that there are all of these different forces that they coexist in you, and it's like you need to kind of organize them and put them in their proper places so that they are harmonious. So, and I think for me, one of the biggest realizations, yeah, was along those lines. Is like, look, it's like if I am going to continue to move forward, it's like I need to like take care of all those different sides of me as if they were a part of my country or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
I never contextualized that in the context of time, but definitely when it comes to sticking to a plan or things like that, it's like, yeah, much like at work, it's like, look, if you're abusing your employees, they're gonna fucking sabotage you. I'm sorry, like that's
Yeah.
what's gonna
Right.
happen, you know. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
but that's cool though. I do like how you tied that into time. I still am gonna probably feel insecure about that for a while because like when I tell you I have no like I'm the worst ENFP of all time. Like I have no imagination up here. Like there is nothing up here. Like it is blank. Like it is just like voices
Yeah.
basically. I'm just talking. Like that's it. You know.
Yeah.
Um. But anyway. Okay. Cool. So yeah, that time thing is that's going to be more important to me as I go through the years, I guess.